Okay, don't be scared. We're going to start our dividing of fractions. And you've done this before, and hopefully this doesn't elicit an emotional response. But we're going to check out these questions so that you can see what you have to do. Let's take a little bit of notes first. When you divide fractions, the very first thing you want to do first is keep, change, flip. Remember that reciprocals are what happens when you are dividing and multiplying with fractions. So the flip part comes from the fact that we're dividing that operation with your fraction. Change means you're going to change your division to multiply. Flip means take the reciprocal. Okay? So you're going to keep the first term. You're going to change your division to multiply, and then you're going to take the reciprocal of the second one. And then you can go ahead and do your multiplying fractions business that you're normally doing. So let's take a look at an example. And we are going to take a look at example 1. And our question is 3/4 divide sign -2/3. Now, before you get all excited, though, you have to keep change flip before you start reducing. You have to keep change flip. So we are going to take this one right here, and we are going to transform it into a multiplication. We're going to keep the first. This is our keep. We're going to change this division to a multiply, and we're going to flip this fraction, which gives us 3/-2. Okay, we're just keep, change, flip. Now that we have done this, our next step is to go into multiply fraction mode. So I'm going to take a look and see, is there anything on the bottom that 3 goes into or goes into 3? And the answer to that is no. So because this one has no common factors, we can multiply the top times the top. 3 times 3 is 9. And the bottom times the bottom. And 4 times -2 is -8. And this is your final answer. Our next example is 7/8 divide symbol. Then we have in parentheses a -1/2. So before we do anything, we are going to do keep, change, flip. You have to do that so that you can get this into multiplication mode. You're going to change this to multiply. And then this is going to flip and take the reciprocal. So you're going to write 7/8 for your keep, multiply sign, flip that guy over, and you get 2/-1. Now we're going to go through and do our process of multiplying fractions and looking for common factor or not. If I look at the 7 in the bottom, nothing goes into 7, and 7 doesn't go into any of these. But for the 2 does go into 8. So what we're going to do is we're going to divide the top by 2 and get 1. And we're going to divide the bottom 8 by 2 and get 4. That's all we can do. There's nothing else to do here. So now we're going to multiply across 7 times 1 and 4 times -1. Remember, a positive times a negative is going to give me a negative. And this is my final answer. Next example we're going to do is -5/4 divided by -3/4. And remember that because it's dividing with a fraction, you have to keep, change, flip. So I think we've written it enough. We're just going to go ahead and give it a shot. We're going to keep the -5/4. We're going to change this division to multiply, and we're going to flip this fraction and get 4 over -3. I'm going to take a look and multiply, but I'm going to check, do I have a common factor or any multiples of 5 in the bottom? No. Do I have a common factor or multiples of 4 on the bottom? Yes. I do have a common factor of 4, so I'm going to divide top and bottom by 4, and anything top and bottom that you get becomes a 1. Then we need to take a look at the last part, and that is multiplying across. And when I do, I'm going to end up with -5 times 1, which is -5, and 1 times -3, which is -3. But this is not the final answer. You know that two negatives multiplied or divided give you a positive. So your final answer is +5 over 3. Okay, last example and we're done. So this is -5/9 divide sign -5/6. And remember that when we're dividing a fraction, you have to keep change flip. So we're going to start with keep change flip. Now what we're going to do is we're going to look for common factors. Look at the 5 on the top. Do you see any common factors or multiples on the bottom that happen to do with 5? Yes, they're the same, so we can divide 5s out and they become 1s. Look at the 6. Does that have a common factor, or is there a multiple with the bottom? And the answer to that is yes. 3 divides into 6 and 3 divides into 9. So we're going to divide the top by 3, and that's going to give me 2. We're going to divide the bottom by 3, and that's going to give me 3. Lastly, I don't know if you caught it, but do you see a negative and a negative? A negative over a negative is a positive. So you can either handle that now or you can handle that at the end. But make sure that your final answer is positive when you're done. Right now, I've got -1 times 2, which is -2. I've got 3 times -1, which is -3. And a negative divided by a negative is a positive. There's your final answer.